go check this out real quick.
Man, we are live. Yeah, let's get on that Twitter.
Let's see here. I'm on the YouTube right now. Shout out everybody that'll be tuning in. This is going to be a fun show. The Celtics are totally alive.
Oh, hey. Chill out.
Jason Tatum might not be alive. NBA. Timothy Shamamali couldn't do it again, huh?
Was he there again? No way he was
he
in
was.
Boston. He was?
Yeah, he was in Boston. He was sitting next to Portnoy.
What? That's like
you didn't see?
I was working, but so I followed the game a little quietly and
and we have some things to discuss. Okay, let's rock and roll. Okay, we are live on there. We are live. Shout out everybody tuning in.
Shout out the people. Shout out the comments.
Let's get in here real quick. All right, we'll be starting in 1 minute.
Uno minuto.
Dos minutos. Every freaking Heat game during the LeBron era.
2 minutes.
That was a good one.
Thank you. Why do they feel the need to do that? Like the players don't know? Or, I mean, like, is that for the players? Or is that for the crowd?
Has that just been a thing forever and it's just tradition?
That's probably what it is. That's probably the most likely answer there. Shout out everyone. Sorry for the glasses game. Dealing with a migraine. So, got to block that old blue light out. Flu game for me. I've had a few of those recently.
Can't handle altitude, apparently.
Can't, dude. This is altitude sickness. It's a real thing.
I love it. Well, I don't love that, but if you were coming from Utah, is Denver higher than Utah? Anyhow, let's get into this. You ready?
It is? Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it.
It's close. But, all right. 3, 2, 1. We're live. We are live right now on the Karterkast YouTube and X channels right now. Chase is here with me. Connor, this dude's tucked in bed. He's already gone night-night like Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. Let's get right into it. The Timberwolves, they're finishing up the game right now. They're up 12-13, 2 minutes ago. This series is over. Timberwolves in 5 over the Warriors. Look, once Steph Curry went down, this was exactly what we thought, and this series ended up sucking. One of the most boring second-round series, honestly, I could ever remember. Because they kept it fun in the first halves a little bit for the Warriors, but the actual basketball really stunk in this series outside of when Ant would blow up in these third quarters.
Yeah, tonight might have been the worst night we've had so far this playoffs.
I'd agree.
And that just speaks to how awesome this playoffs has been. It seems like
this was every night last year.
Yeah, I mean, most nights, and this is every night. This was like every night of March Madness almost. This series was like the pinnacle of it. I think of all the series, this one has been the worst, like you said. And it's just there's only one factor. It's the Steph injury. It's completely blown up any chance the Warriors had and any chance we had at some decent games here. I think. The big one was Game 3, where you really just felt like the Warriors needed to get that one there at home and without Steph in order to push it to at least 6 to get him back in and see if he has a chance once he's healthy. Can they start to steal that series and when they're at full strength? But they let that one slip away, and that ends their season because you just knew at the end of the day that they weren't going to be enough offensively to keep up with Minnesota, because you go watch the Warriors, Carter, and you see some of these guys and you feel like you're watching
the Santa Cruz Warriors.
The Santa Cruz. We say this. We say it as a joke, but also, I mean, and no offense to these guys at all, but Pat Spencer's barely a basketball player. Like that dude plays lacrosse, and like Podziemski, wouldn't be getting minutes on any other basketball team in this league, except maybe like the Wizards or something. So it just was never built for this team to do something special. But with Steph, and this is a big credit to Warriors, Steve Kerr, Jimmy Butler, with Steph, they were always going to be a threat. But the second you lose him, and the second you lose your best player on pretty much any team, we're seeing it right now with a couple others, it just wasn't going to be enough.
Yeah, and that's what sucked about these playoffs right now. And this has happened, ever since the last 7-8 years or so. These injuries have just kind of put a damper on a lot of these series, and especially with Tatum going down. Now that series has honestly had more life than ever, to be honest. And then Warriors, Steph Curry goes down. That series was a wrap immediately after. And like you were saying with these guys, like some of them, they're fine, they're okay, whatever. But when they're asked to play a much bigger role in a 7-game playoff series, they had no chance. And also, they're playing without a true center. So it was just a disaster. There's no shooting on this team. You can't win in modern basketball without having having all these dudes who are sub 30% three-point shooters. So it was never in the cards for them. The scary part about the Warriors going forward is, look how good the West is going to be next year. Oh my gosh. And now I still think the Warriors are going to make the playoffs, and you got to go for it with these last couple years of Steph, and I still think they made all the right moves. It's just unfortunate Steph got hurt. I think they could have won this series if Steph was healthy, but, that's just going to be a what-if forever. You look at the West going forward, look at the Mavs. The Mavs are going to be a top 3 betting favorite next season in the Western Conference. OKC's not going anywhere. Even Houston, they're not going anywhere. They're probably in prime position to make one of the biggest splashes this offseason. The Lakers, say what you want about the Lakers, they're kind of not going anywhere. The Clippers, that's where it gets a little shaky. I can see the Clippers falling off completely.
Yeah, it's tantalizing to start to look at these teams, but I think I'm a little more bullish on the Warriors next season than most, because you're going to have pretty much everyone back that you want back, and you have an offseason to maybe do something here to kind of get a little bit more help in shooting. Maybe you can draft someone decent who can slot in there and just play honestly, you need someone who can give you like a solid, trustworthy 15 minutes, because they don't even have that guy right now.
You said a solid, trustworthy 15 minutes shooting. Luke Kennard, is that you?
Honestly, he would help this basketball team. But they were a threat this season, right? And until Steph got hurt. And they had a legit threat to go to the finals. I think that's how good they were. Now 100%. You're going to next season saying you can stay healthy, bring all that back, and make maybe potentially a move. They're in a position where they don't even have to be a high seed. We saw it this season, right? Grabbing that 7th seed, even playing in the play-in, they still took care of Houston. And then, like we said, this series was only the way it was because of the Steph injury. They can almost kind of play that. It's might be easy to compare, but kind of the Heat of a few years ago, where they're like, we don't even need a high seed here. Once we get to the playoffs, we're gonna do something special. And they just have these weird guys who just go off in random moments. But if you're the Warriors, you don't even need that, because you have the best shooter on earth, and then Jimmy Butler, and then Draymond Green, who's going to be punching dudes in the balls and getting under people's skin. If you can find just like a little bit of help, a little bit of shooting, and just something and someone to give Steph some sort of support when he's not on the floor or whenever he needs it, I actually like the Warriors again in the West next season. But it would probably be the very last ride. And it does depend on if they can actually make moves. That's completely up to what their management can get done and free agent signings, and maybe they make a trade. I don't know. But at this point, I like what they bring back, Carter. So I wouldn't be shocked to see them right here in this position again.
I'll say my concerns. I agree. I think they're going to be back, and I think they're going to be in the playoffs, and I think they're going to be a contender in the West. But I would say my concerns going into next season are a few things. One, the age of these dudes in an 82-game season, does that wear and tear, because these guys, with the way this Warriors lineup is set up, they don't have the depth to take off games and load manage. They're going to have to play to get into the playoffs next year without going into the play-in again. You're going to have to win, 47 games, probably 48 games?
Yeah.
You can't take nights off at that point with a bunch of older dudes. On top of that, look, we know Draymond Green. We know Jimmy Butler. I know it's looked pretty now, but it's only been a few months. What happens when it's a cold Tuesday night in January and they're in Cleveland, Ohio, and they lose by 35, and one of them gets tossed out of a game, and then they're in the locker room fighting each other? What happens then? That's what I'm really worried about, is the chemistry going into next season, whether it can withstand 82 games over 7-8 months.
Yeah, what happens this summer when they're practicing and the security cams are rolling? Like who knows?
How have we not found out who leaked those tapes?
I don't know, but I'm dang grateful that they did. I think more people should be leaking practice footage tapes. I think the league would benefit, honestly.
The league as a whole, I bet every other team in the league was wanting those tapes leaked. But yeah, no, I worry about the chemistry for next season. But you're right, they do need shooting in this offseason. They also just have to find a rim protector. And there's so many teams out there right now that I feel like are dying for a rim protector, but you got to find them cheap, and that's tough.
It is tough, and especially where they're becoming so rare these days, to have one that you really feel like you can keep on the floor. Because the problem with basketball these days is if you're a center who can't score, then you really have limited options as to the minutes you're going to play and your usefulness on the court. Some guys have been able to figure it out, and the offense has been able to build around it and kind of make up for it. Most teams haven't. So, I mean, you just can't be rolling out, again, no offense to these guys, but Quentin Post and Guy Santos and even Draymond Green as your starting five. It's just not going to roll anymore. So you're right.
I'm not going to lie, Chase. If you're listening on audio right now, Chase is wearing these glasses right now. It looks like a fake costume.
I think like I'm trying. The mustache isn't helping either.
Yeah, no, it looks like you're doing like you're like in the office, like going undercover.
I said before we recorded, and if you were on the live, you heard I'm dealing with a migraine, so got the blue light glasses on, give my eyes a little bit of a break. Been staring at a screen all day for work. So
Andrew Cavs fan in the chat said they can have Jared Allen. Jared Allen's making about $20 million next season. That's not an awful deal, and that kind of feels like the most realistic scenario for a team like Golden State or
Would they kind of
the
love
Lakers.
Jared Allen?
I don't think it's that bad for them, to be honest, but what do you give up for Jared Allen? Everyone knows the Cavs have to dump him or one of these other guys, so I feel like these other teams have all the leverage on him.
Fair. I do think he'd fit, though. I think a lot of teams could benefit from Jared Allen. I know our resident Cavs fan, Andrew, probably is harboring some tough feelings towards him, but that's a guy who could rebound and play some defense. Hey, I think the Lakers would die for Jared Allen right about now.
If the Lakers had Jared Allen, we might be talking about a Lakers-Warriors series right now and whether Luka can match up against SGA in the Western Conference Finals.
I think that's exactly what we'd be talking about.
I'm my gosh. But on the Timberwolves side of things, back-to-back Western Conference Finals, them and the Pacers, I mean, imagine staying that last season. That the Pacers and the T-Wolves are going to go to back-to-back Western Conference Finals. They do it again. Look, the Cat trade looked like a disaster early on. Julius Randle had one hell of a series tonight and this whole entire Warriors series. Sneaky a win-win now?
It's looking like it. I mean, it's easy to say after one season. Give it a few and we'll have a better perspective. But right now, it's worked out for both teams great. Yeah.
It's crazy, but shout out the Timberwolves, shout out Anthony Edwards. He is, without question, now that Steph Curry's eliminated, the most entertaining player in these playoffs right now. It's so nice to watch. I mean, people always say ethical hoops and everything. That's ethical hoops right there, is Anthony Edwards.
Dude, it's ethical hoops, and then it's just a guy who loves basketball, who's crazy about it, and who gives his all every time. Like, you just love to watch him.
You know what the best part about Anthony Edwards is, and you can't say this about so many other guys in the league, is when he has the ball in his hands, you have no idea what's about to happen next. It could be a step-back three. It could be a 360 mid-range, or he could just go put up the nastiest dunk you've ever seen on a 7'2" guy. You have no idea. You're on the edge of your seat every time he touches the ball, But when these other superstars, who are great, by the way, but when Jalen Brunson or SGA, they get the ball in their hands, you kind of know what they're going to do. They're going to dance around a little bit. They're going to shield off the defender with their hips, get into a position where they're going to have to, in a foul baiting position a little bit. You kind of know, and it's kind of so predictable. Anthony Edwards is so unpredictable, man.
In a good way too, not in like the Russell
Yeah.
Westbrook way. Like you
No,
like
Russell
all those options.
Russell Westbrook's not unpredictable anymore. I can predict every single time. During these playoffs, I've been sitting on my couch going air ball, whap, air ball, brick, air ball, turnover. You know exactly actually what's happening.
You're telling me that you saw those 2 air balls in the clutchest, most biggest moments coming last night? You telling me you expected that?
You can ask my father. He was sitting right next to me. I go air ball. And speaking of that, last night, this is off topic, but did you have any faith in this world that Michael Porter Jr. was going to hit those 2 shots last night?
Well, I'm not gonna lie. A part of me looked back, like had flashbacks to last season against the Lakers. I can't remember which game. I think it was like game 2 or maybe game 5. It was in Denver, where he hit an insanely clutch 3 to tie it, and they ended up and Murray hit that game winner. I think it was game 2. I had a little bit of a flashback. I'm like, can he do it again at this biggest moment? And then kind of off the fingertips, I was like, I don't think he can.
I was about to say, I had zero faith. I saw that ball go up. I'm like, no shot. Shout out Shoot the Rock in the chat. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel. Great follow. He said, definitely taking Jarrett Allen over Alex Len and Maxi Kleber.
Yeah, really.
That's the other thing. Like, obviously you would too. And I just don't know how the money works. I feel like the Lakers have to move around a bunch of pieces, and there's going to be an Austin Reeves conversation this offseason, but this isn't the Lakers. We're talking about the NBA playoffs. Let's talk about the teams that are actually still in it. And let's go back to the Eastern Conference. Let's talk about the Celtics Knicks tonight. Celtics bring it to 3-2. It's been a minute since we've been on here. I know we did the draft lottery stuff, but Tatum tears his Achilles. We did the draft lottery stuff, so we haven't even talked since the Tatum Achilles stuff. Ruptures his Achilles. Went to surgery very fast. I thought that was crazy. I've never seen surgery that fast. But anyhow, he's out for probably the next 9-10 months, maybe even a year. Could be out all of next season. You never know with the Achilles. Everything was so down with the Celtics. But you watch tonight, they played really good basketball.
They played great tonight, and a lot of it was thanks to an insane Derek White performance, and then Jaylen Brown really embracing being the first option and actually, taking advantage of it. What I think we really saw from the Celtics tonight was like an emotional kind of statement that they're not giving up, that they still care and they still think that they can win this series. Do I think they can still win? I don't think they can go into New York for the game 6 and walk away with a win there. But I do think tonight proved, if anything, just how disappointing it is for Boston to be in this position that they're in. Obviously, the Tatum injury, there's no one to blame, and you can't plan for that sort of thing. But I think that they would have lost, game 5 anyway. They were down 7 at that point when he got hurt, even with the performance he was having, and he was playing
4.
Was it 4?
Yeah.
And then it was, and Anunoby would have had that breakaway for the dunk, so 6 with only a couple minutes left.
Yeah, that game was over.
Yeah, it's so obvious that Boston's better than this New York team. And I think, you're missing your very best player, and you still are able to beat them by 20 in a playoff game. And they did it before, and they should have won the first 2 games, whatever. But it's disappointing now that you found yourself in this position that even with Tatum out, I think they're better and they have a chance to win the series. But you found yourself in this position. You squandered it. You went back to old habits, and you looked like the silly Celtics that have been haunting them for years. Obviously, the title year, and so they kind of, they skipped that beat. But you think a team with a title would be able to close out those first 2 games, at least one of them, and instead of being up at the very worst 3-2, they're now down heading back to New York, fighting for their lives. But they're still dang good, man. They're still talented. I think it was all doom and gloom with the Tatum thing, and everyone's talking about next season and how awful it's going to be. Are they even going to tank? Are they going to try and get draft stock? And I think tonight was a kind of an eye opener. Like, these guys are too good to tank. They still have too much money in this roster. They still have too much talent, and it's showing. But I mean, do you really think that they still have a chance to win the series, Carter?
Yeah, 100% I do.
Really?
100%. The way they played tonight, that ball started moving tonight for the first time in this series, it felt like. Jaylen Brown did a great job initiating this offense tonight and being a facilitator, which I didn't know he was capable of until tonight, to be honest. And it does help Derek White has an unbelievable night. He's red hot and all this stuff. But I want to go back to your other comment where you said, I still believe the Celtics team without Tatum is way better and everything. I don't necessarily agree with that because Porzingis is a dead man walking. I mean, we were watching a literal zombie on the basketball court. He can't play. Just flat out, Luke Cornett, it's your time to play, dude. And he played unbelievable tonight. But with the way Porzingis is now, and basically he's done and Tatum's out, I mean, I think this New York team's better at that point. But I have a lot of thoughts on this, so I need to let's relax here. Do I believe the Celtics have a chance to win this series still? Yes. And I don't think it's crazy that this ends up going to Game 7 whatsoever. I think they can go into the Garden and win. We saw it already. I mean, obviously Tatum was playing, but Tatum didn't have that great of a game in the Garden in that game. So, and also, all the pressure's on the Knicks now. The Celtics have no pressure. They get to play free. There's nothing riding on this anymore. They can go into Madison. All the pressure is going to be on the Knicks in that game in front of their home crowd, and we've seen that throughout these playoffs. Is the home team almost feels like they have more pressure in front of their own fans because you have to win your home games. There's going to be no more expensive tickets so far this season than Madison Square Garden in Game 6. I kind of like Boston in Game 6.
Wow. I mean, that would... Because if Boston does win Game 6, then all of a sudden, like, all the odds shift. Boston's right back into even the finals conversation with the Pacers coming up, although they look dang good. I know we're not talking about them. Look, I think there's a chance, too, because they still have, like I said, so much dang talent. And if Porzingis is even, I mean,
I don't think you can even say if Porzingis. I think that's done.
Then if he's done, I like what I saw from Luke Cornett, to be honest. And if Al Horford could take tonight was low key a good resting game for Al, and I think he was able to get it. Like, they didn't have to expenditure him very much. And so if he's feeling spry and young, I know he's 39 years old, but there's a chance. But with that New York crowd, with what the Knicks have been doing to Boston, and with what I think they understand is. Because I think they were okay to lose this one, but you're like, you cannot go back to Boston for Game 7, because at that point, then you're really, really pooping your pants, and you're realizing that you might have just blown a golden opportunity to go to these conference finals and face the whatever it is 4 seed.
Yeah, because that's kind of my thing going into tonight, where it's like you kind of felt like human nature was going to set in for the Knicks, where they go, "Oh, Tatum's out, we've won this series, we're done." And the Celtics are like, F that, we're going to play free now. There's no pressure on us. Nobody expects us to win the series anyways. We're in front of our home crowd. Kind of culminated into a perfect mix for the Celtics. But then, I don't know, man. And if game 6 is the series, it feels like. Game 6 is where everything goes down. I would almost go as far to say it's like 60-40 Knicks win this series.
I mean, that's...
And I think FanDuel might agree with me. I'll get the odds up real quick.
Yeah, pull it up. While you pull that up, dude, like, I can't disagree with you because of what we just saw. But, like, think about where we were 48 hours ago. We're like...
Knicks are minus 270.
Yeah, so not quite, right? I mean, that's more like... 70%.
But then you look at the actual game lines, it's not that off because... That makes no sense. I would just take the Celtics on the series spread there because Game 6 is only a 2-point spread for the Knicks. They're only favored by 2.
And if that goes 7, Boston was favored tonight. They were like plus 200
Boston's going to be a 3-point favorite at home in Game 7 probably. 3.5. Now, it begs the bigger question, Chase, and I know you've been wanting to avoid this. Let's say Boston comes back in this series and they win it. And then let's say they go into Indiana and they beat the Pacers. All of a sudden they're in the finals and let's say some magical world, they somehow still won the finals this year. It's a bit of an indictment on Tatum. And it sucks to say because of that injury, but it's a bit of an indictment.
Yeah, it does feel a little disrespectful, but for the sake of the storyline, and it's a legit possibility. We have to talk about it. It would be. I can't sit here and argue that. He's still the best player on the Celtics team, but what the story then would be, and if what we saw tonight from them continues, that he might be a little bit of a ball stopper, right? And the offense is able to be much more free, and the ball is able to move a little bit and get more everyone involved. And it would be hard to argue because, dude, like, it's obviously been a thing for years with Tatum. We've done podcasts on it, and we've expressed how we hate the step back threes in the biggest moments, and we hate how there's these zero pass possessions that they literally stand for around for 20 seconds of the shot clock, right? And we've been seeing it this series. I mean, that's what led to those first two losses was a complete lack of urgency offensively of getting to the rim, of sharing the basketball, of moving in transition. And in those moments, Jason Tatum has the basketball. Now you have games like game 5 where you're like, I just kind of want you to shoot because you're on a heater right now. You already have 40. Like that's just, you can go do your thing, whatever. And he has the capability to do that any given night. But it would have to be a real conversation. They're obviously better with Tatum. He adds so much talent. He's a legit top 5 guy in the league. But it's the style that you'd have to really take a look at. And I need to like watch the film and just see exactly how different pace is and assist rate and all these things. Because from what I've seen with my own eyes briefly, the style changes completely. And that's what I'm so frustrated about the Celtics and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown this series, like hasn't been good except for tonight, is if you could just play this way all the time with all the talent you have while you're healthy, you'd be walking to a repeat, dude. Like this it's not rocket science. I don't know why it's so hard for them. Obviously it's easy for us to say we're just two dorks sitting at our desks, at 10:30 at night talking about it, but that is what is so frustrating is if you do add Tatum back into the mix and you just do what you've been doing in this game 6 here, game 5, you'd be looking at like minus 350 favorites to just repeat and do this again, and we'd all be like, this is a wrap, kind of like the last playoffs when they just mauled everyone and finally bought into it, but they didn't, and that's why they're down 3-2 to a team that they shouldn't be.
Yeah, 100%. And so now we got a series, man. I cannot wait for Game 6 at the Garden Friday night. I am so excited for that game. And going back to last thing tonight, and then we'll wrap up from there on the tonight's game, and then we'll go into the other series. Yeah, I think the Knicks just said, you know what, we'll get them in New York, and we'll let this one bypass. The Celtics were hitting everything tonight, and this also showed everything for the offseason too, that no matter what, you can't get rid of Derek White. Derek White might be a bigger mainstay than Jaylen Brown, as crazy as that is to say, based on the contract as well and how the money shakes out. You can't give up Derek White whatsoever. You're looking at Drew Holiday and Porzingis going, all right, how do we work you guys into some deals?
Yeah, on the list of Celtics must keeps, it's Jason Tatum 1, Derek White number 2. Like he is one of the best players in the league and has been the most consistent and best player for the Celtics. I had someone text me at the end of game 1 where they had that possession to win it, and they were like, who do you want taking this shot? And without hesitation, I was like, I want Derek White taking the last shot over Jason Tatum because I just don't trust his, I know this is going to be a step back 32-footer, and I'd rather have Derek White put the ball up there. That's just how I feel about him.
I talked about this on the lottery reaction show with Connor. To be honest, I think we're giving Tatum a little too much crap at times because look at what some of the superstars in these playoffs have done in the clutch. Really, you can only pinpoint to Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton. They've been just nails in the clutch. SGA, yeah, he had a great game. 5 was great. That was the only close game I felt comfortable with SGA, and to be honest, Jokic. We don't even have to get into that. I mean, even Game 5, Jokic was awesome. Like, Jokic did everything possible in the Game 5. But Game 4, he missed critical free throws. You'd be wanting Aaron Gordon taking these final shots, apparently. Like, who would have guessed that? Ant really hasn't had to play in any close games because they've just blown out the Lakers and the Warriors, essentially. So I feel like it's just that hard to score in the clutch in the playoffs, and we do give Tatum a little too much crap for it, but eventually, if you want to be known as one of these top dudes, you got to make those shots, but whatever. Hope Tatum gets well soon. Andrew, I showed this on stream for a second, but both Celtics wins. They had 27, 23 assists, no more than 18 in the losses. And the eye test backs that up more
Great
than
stat,
just the
Andrew.
stats.
That's great. That's exactly what we're saying.
It's
Shout out
a
Andrew.
simple formula for this Celtics team, 100%. Let's go to the other Eastern Conference series real quick. We hadn't had a chance to talk about this either. Vegas loved the Cavs in this series against the Pacers. Every game, it's like the Cavs are 15.5-point favorites. I mean, Game 5, 8.5-point favorites. I mean, I texted Andrew. He's a Cavs fan. I go, what are we doing here? Right? And he's like, yeah, Vegas has been loving us nonstop. I didn't get the line. Pacers ended up winning that game. Game 2 was where the series was lost. I think that demoralized everybody on that Cavs roster, even though half of them didn't even play in that game. If you're a Cavs fan, where do you go from here?
If you're a Cavs fan, probably like the bar. If you're the franchise, look, it's going to be easy, and this is what they're going to do. I mean, it's just what teams do these days, and we've seen it work out a little bit. Like, I think Minnesota was in a fairly similar position, maybe not as much because they didn't have the pressure of the 1 seed, but right, you lose the Western Conference Finals, you lose any playoff series, it's easy to start asking questions, right? Like, why did we lose? What else can we do? What moves can we make? And sometimes the answer that a lot of guys will do, a lot of these GMs, is like, let's just run it back. See if we can add, maybe like change up the 6-man. Like, but we have a good core. Let's run it back. The Cavs are, I think, going to do that, right? They won 64 games. They had the 1 seed. Do I think they should do it? Look, you lost to the Pacers at 5. I mean, you didn't win a single game on your home court in that series, and so you need to start looking at the roster. I think you found the right coach. I like Kenny Atkinson. Obviously won the award, which doesn't mean a whole lot these days, but he certainly was better than Bickerstaff and everything. But you got to start looking at guys' performances in the playoff. Obviously, Andrew is our resident Cavs expert. Really upset with Jared Allen. Ty Jerome was a complete no-show. Max Strus wasn't much better.
Virginia Cavaliers in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Kind of what you expect.
Yeah, it makes sense. At the end of the day, you need a wing. You need guys who are going to complement Mitchell and be shooters, which is just so funny when you look at the Cavs. Like, you're like, this team's awesome. They're dangerous. But in the playoffs, you weren't scared of a single one of those dudes anymore. All of that fear factor was completely gone, except for Donovan Mitchell, who was incredible in that series.
If Pacers fans had to be fearing Donovan Mitchell, dude was averaging near 40 points a game in this series.
Yeah, and that's the most frustrating part, is that you waste another awesome Mitchell year. You waste another truly an awesome performance in these playoffs because everyone else just let him down. Mobley only came alive in Game 5, and they ended up wasting that too and not being able to come through because no one else could make threes. So I think if you're the Cavs, you talk yourself into running it back. I think they will, and I think they'll, guess what, be just as good next season. They'll win just as many games. But come playoff time, the narrative's out. No one's going to trust them. It's going to be completely different lines and everything in Vegas.
Yeah, Mobley's the concern for me in this series, and I know Andrew's in the chat and everything in the Cavs. The Jared Allen part of this, I mean, I don't think Jared Allen's going to be on the team next year. Just Evan Mobley disappearing. If he's going to get that kind of money where he's going to take up 30 to 35% of your cap, he can't disappear like that. He's got to be alongside Donovan Mitchell putting up the biggest shots in these games. You also feel for Garland being in and out of these games so much and being injured. But what I will say, the positives for Cavs fans is you're in the Eastern Conference. You run this thing back, no questions asked, however best you can, because you look at the East next year, now that Boston's not going to have Tatum for 90% to 100% of the year next year, Boston's kind of out of the equation. that just opens up everything. Because are you that scared of Indiana? Because you were in those games. Arguably, you should have won this series. You were in all those games. The 76ers, can Embiid stay healthy for an entire playoff series? I would highly doubt that. The Bucks, even if they run it back with Giannis, you're not scared of them in the slightest. Then it turns into the Knicks. That's probably number one. They're probably going to be preseason favorites next year, to be honest. Then the Cavs and the Pacers. And then you're getting to the point of the Magic, the Pistons. Maybe they make big moves this offseason, which I think they should. I have a clip about that coming out tomorrow. But the Cavs have to run it back. They're going to be in a prime position again, and I know it sucks and it's demoralizing and everything because you watch this team for 82 games and this all goes down, but the East is so wide open, you have to run it back. Second apron, we got this in the chat here. Second apron puts them in a difficult situation. The key is unlocking Mobley. If he's aggressive and assertive, they can reach his full potential. Mobley only took at most 12 shots in this series, needs close to 20. And the other thing is we saw Mobley unlock his three-point shot this season too, and I almost didn't trust it in the playoffs, I felt like.
It was nowhere to be found. My one concern with running it back if you're the Cavs is like you can't keep trotting out the trustworthy trio of Sam Merrill, Max Strus, and Ty Jerome to try and win a playoff game. You know, like those guys. I think it's pretty safe to say now they're just regular season frontrunners who have these awesome games, and we start being like, oh, like they're cool on prize picks. Like let's go ahead and bet they're like over. But when it comes to these crunch down playoff games, number one, they're a complete liability on defense. They cannot guard a single thing. And if you're going to be in the East, you're going to have to guard elite wings. Even all those teams we talked about, that even if you're talking yourself into the Magic or the Pistons, guess who those guys are going to get switched on to? Cade Cunningham and Paolo Banchero, even Franz are cooking all those dudes. Like that's why in a Cavs Celtics series, you saw it last year, right? I mean, it was where is Max Strus and how quickly can we get a switch onto him? And then it was game over from there. Obviously, adding Hunter was the big piece here. And so they need to be able to play him more minutes, put more trust in him to play elite defense. And then he needs to not be a complete no-show on offense. But you either need those guys to consistently hit shots, or you need to find someone else to play the wing, because it's not going to – the trustworthy trio is not going to get it done in the playoffs.
No, it will not. And Jerome probably gone. Sam Merrill, unrestricted free agent, saying he won't re-sign. Merrill's going to get a decent chunk of change because so many of these teams are desperate for shooting. I mean, if you're the Warriors, why not throw a little bone out there for Sam Merrill? I mean, if you're the Orlando Magic, you're just dying for someone to be able to get hot from three. Sam Merrill would be kind of a nice pick to have, a guy to have off the bench for them. But you're right, you can't trust those dudes as well. Andrew's also saying Mobley shot 50% from three in the playoffs. But he also shot, what, 3 a game? 3.5?
Could have fooled me. I didn't see any of it.
And then if Allen is on the team, he needs to come off the bench as the backup 5 and have Mobley as the starter. Cavs played at their best, staggering their minutes, so just commit. I think that's fair as well. And we're going to have – it's almost like the Anthony Davis situation where Anthony Davis didn't want to play the 5 forever, and he's like, no, I want to play the 4. I want to be a stretch 4 and whatnot. It's like, Anthony Davis, look, if we want to win, you got to play the 5. We cannot have you out here playing the 4 in a big-time playoff series. You got to play the 5. Same thing's going to have to happen to Evan Mobley, and I'm not worried about the Cavs going into next season, but you're right. I think next year the NBA consensus is they're going to be the Jeff Teague Hawks.
They proved it that they are this season at least. And so next season when it comes around, let's say they do match up with with Detroit or whoever else has become. I mean, heaven forbid they match up with like Indiana in the first or second round. Everyone's going to be picking Indiana. That's just what we saw. I mean, I don't care if they win 70 games. Like, you have to beat the narrative. The stigma is going to be there. They have the talent to pull it off and to beat it. But I think Andrew's right in what we've been talking about. It's all about Mobley being able to finally live up to his potential and complement Mitchell. And it's also about staying healthy. I mean, we've seen that for every team in this playoffs, it seems like. If you stay healthy, you have a pretty dang good chance to win your series. And Cavs obviously had some bad luck, like a lot of teams have.
Yeah, and it sucks it's just back-to-back seasons for Garland as well. But And then he said, "This is the point for all Cavs fans. Regular season is going to be worthless. Won't matter at all." That's consensus with
You
me.
could win the Emirates Cup though. I mean, that might be worth it.
Would you rather have an Emirates Cup or a $50 gift card to the restaurant of your choosing?
Yeah, give me 50 to Chili's. Give me 50 to Chili's.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
I'll
I'm
see you
saying.
there.
uh, oh my gosh. Yeah, and on the Pacers side of things, congrats to the Pacers, but they sold their soul to the devil, and they are doing some weird voodoo stuff. It's not a conspiracy. It can't be a conspiracy anymore. Everybody's getting hurt against them. No, I love the way they play. I'm screwing around with that stuff. I love the way they play. They play awesome team basketball, and Halliburton has just turned into this unbelievable guy in the playoffs, back-to-back conference finals appearances. Now they're all of a sudden, it's not far-fetched to say they can win the NBA Finals at this point.
Yeah, especially with the way that the East is kind of opening up. I mean, you're likely to get into a rematch with New York, or I mean, heck, dude, if they get a rematch with Boston without Tatum, how are we feeling then? Tatum torched him last year, and him not being there could be a real factor. So I don't think they're favorites to win the East. I think New York is at this moment in time, but the story with them is people doubt them. People don't. Vegas especially doesn't like them, and they prove you wrong. They have this camaraderie about them. They're the typical quintessential plucky power of friendship startup. We just want it more than you do, and then they have playoff risers from 1 to 10. They have these dudes who just live up to the moment, which is rare to see, and especially in a lot of those guys whose careers haven't been in the playoffs. Like it's not like they're going out with these guys who have like just played in these big games their entire. Like most of these guys are in like their second, third, fourth year, and maybe even a couple dudes like Toppin who maybe most of us gave up on, and now they are doing the biggest things in the biggest moments. But it all starts with Halliburton, who I don't know what it is about him, but he has something in him, that gene that just comes out in the playoffs, and he turns into. I mean, he looks like Magic Johnson half the time, except he can hit threes. Like he's doing these things again in the biggest moments that it seems like you just trust him every time he has the ball in crunch time, and that's what I think is really becoming interesting in these playoffs. Like you look at these teams who are going to be advancing to the conference finals. Minnesota obviously just locked in. Indiana, it looks like New York's going to do it, and then jury's still out for OKC. Other than OKC, what you're seeing is you're seeing the teams advance that have the best guy in crunch time. New York with Brunson, Indiana with Halliburton, and then Minnesota with Ant. That might be a little bit more of a stretch than those other guys, but of all the series that they've played against, in every single one of them, you would have picked those dudes in the last minute of the game to be leading your team, to be taking the shots, to be making the decisions. And they've been awesome. I mean, they've proven it in these close games. Like you said, the Cavs were right there with them. And even in the first series, right? You think about that Milwaukee game that was so crazy. Obviously, they didn't struggle too much with Milwaukee, but even in that one, you saw Halliburton take over and able to come away with these wins. And it is voodoo magic almost, dude. It's like you can't even explain it.
You can't explain game two.
Wins.
Game two was unexplainable. Mitchell missing 3 free throws in a row in game 5. I mean, game was, if he makes those free throws, it's a different ball game. But
it was
even
a 2-point game if you would not.
Game two is where the series was, man. I mean, you get that performance out of Mitchell. You had that lead at the end, and you just couldn't inbound the ball. You looked like Duke against Houston in the Final Four. That's genuinely what the choke was in that game. So, do you think the Pacers are coming out of the? If you had to pick right now between the Pacers, the Knicks, and the Celtics, who's coming out of the East?
I'm picking the Pacers. I legitimately am. I even said before this Cavs series that I wouldn't be shocked if the Pacers ended up. I am shocked they did it in 5 and like this, obviously. And I think I did wuss out and still pick the Cavs, so I can't take too much credit. But I have mad respect for the Pacers, dude. That when you're playing like this as a team and you have this bond and this camaraderie and you all are gelling like this, and then you have a guy who is legitimately one of the clutchest guys, it seems, in these playoffs. you have a chance. If they beat New York last season, obviously that New York team was a little beat up and looked a little bit different, but the Pacers are still healthy.
I mean, that team
they were really beat up.
that was looking like a freaking Mazda with 350,000 miles on it.
But at this present time, I would bet the Pacers. The way they've been, I mean, they've won both series in 5. So
shout out Andre in the chat. He's saying the Pacers are going to the finals.
I mean, it's looking like that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't be shocked.
How are Knicks fans going to react when Reggie Miller is calling a Knicks versus Pacers Eastern Conference Finals? They're going to lose their minds.
Yeah, it's going to be. I mean, we don't need to get into it, but a lot of the commentating this season's been questionable to say the least. But there's a lot of storylines there. It'd be fun.
I haven't hated Reggie Miller.
No, I wasn't saying Miller specifically. You're saying, as a Celtics fan, he's been awful.
Just man up and say Doris Burke.
Doris Burke's always bad. No, and it has nothing to do with who she is, other than I just don't think her analysis is great. I don't like her voice on the television. Sorry, she's just not very good.
Tim Legler,
Legs is awesome. I mean.
But it blows my mind with these ESPN decisions sometimes where, and I'm not even like trying to trash Doris or anything right now. This is more so talking about how good Tim Legler's been. Like for the last 15 years of this dude being on TV, every single time he'd hop on a PTI segment or done a Sports Center segment with SVP, you go, why is this guy not on TV more? Why is he not getting more airtime? Every single time I watch him, I go, you know what? I like that. Great analysis. He's got a great TV presence or whatever. It's not awkward. It's not ers or ums. And he just gets the game.
He's like a Brad Pitt cameo where you're like, why is he not just the star of this TV show? He's awesome every time he shows up.
You a Brad Pitt guy?
I'm not a big one, but I mean, dude's dang talented.
I'll give you 3. Brad Pitt, Leo DiCaprio, McConaughey. Who you taking?
What's like? It depends. Like, DiCaprio's giving you the best performance. DiCaprio's like delivering the character the best, but Pitt gives you like the most aura, swag, whatever you want to call it, on the screen.
Over McConaughey?
McConaughey is a one-hit one. McConaughey,
one-hit wonder?
Every character McConaughey plays has to be from Texas. He can't change his accent for a single role. In How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, right? He's living in New York. He takes her to a Knicks game. Why is he a Knicks fan? He has the biggest Southern draw you've ever heard in your life. Is he a Houston, San Antonio? Why is he a big Knicks fan? Why is he living in New York in the first place? Is he trying to pretend he's a native when all he sounds like is that he came from Hickville, Texas?
Change your accent. Someone coming from the South, I don't have a Southern accent, but I don't like it when people from the western side of the United States or around the world, they hear a Southern accent, they automatically think this guy's stupid.
I don't think he's stupid. I think if you're an actor and you're going to get accolades and I'm going to pick you for a role, he's he was great in that movie, and the accent worked out. But if you're going to play someone from New York,
saying, are you running the Denver Buyers Club right now?
I am the Denver Buyers Club. If you're going to play some guy living in New York who's a big fat Knicks fan, can you just sound a little bit like you're from there? Go watch every McConaughey movie. He hasn't changed his voice once. It's kind of lazy. He is great.
I kind of like that. Andrew said, I never want to hear Spiro Dede's call a game against Spiro Dudu. I was not a fan of his commentating, to be honest. It was not my favorite.
I'm telling you, dude. Why?
Andre in the chat said, do you think Boston has the 3-1 LeBron effect against the Knicks after failing to close out Boston?
I think they got a little. If you're a Knicks fan, you're scared right now. Are you not? Are you not a little bit like, wait a second, like, oh, that game did not. Game 5 was a little scary. Like, are you not feeling pretty frightened right now? I think Game 6 is everything.
1,000%. You have to be frightened. It's when the quarterback goes down and the backup comes in, and nobody believes in you, and everyone's rallying around. It's almost like an interim coach game, to be honest.
That's an incredible, and that's exactly what's what's going on here. But it's not even like a backup you never heard about. It's like, oh, Jaylen Brown
It's
and
like,
Derek White and Drew Holiday, like really, really good dudes. They're
yeah,
still
it's
on this
like
team.
trying to think. I guess you could say Nick Foles would be the best example if they go on and win the finals.
It's like Flacco coming in for the Browns a little bit.
Yeah, they fell on their face though. That was a bad playoff game.
Yeah, so that's not a perfect one. It's like Purdy coming in all of a sudden. I guess he was a little bit unknown. Can't find the perfect one, but like I said, man, I think Boston's still the
So
better team here.
you
So
hate McConaughey, huh?
no, dude, I love McConaughey. I think he's awesome. I just between those three, man, I would take I would take DiCaprio for the best, and then Pitt if I wanted the best looking dude in the role. But McConaughey, he's kind of I'm typecasting.
You're saying
him
a
a little
one-trick
bit.
pony is what you're trying to say.
It's exactly what he is. He's a one trick. He plays one role. He plays it dang well though. Like I really enjoy his performances, but can only play one character. That's it.
Yeah, Leo's got to be the pick there.
Gotta be. I mean, the dude, he's insane. Master his craft.
He's got to be the pick there. The Thunder Nuggets. Browns fan in the chat said, "Screw the Texans." Thunder Nuggets. OKC up 3-2 in this series. You and Connor both picked the Thunder. I think you guys picked the Thunder in 3, if I'm remembering correctly. But I picked Nuggets in 7. I'm officially extremely concerned about my position on the Nuggets in 7. Do you think the Nuggets have a chance in this? I mean, I feel like every single game I watch of this series, and I go, how in the heck are they still in this game?
You know, it's funny. I actually feel not the opposite, but that we've kind of switched stances here. After what I've been seeing from the Nuggets, who I genuinely wrote off, if you've watched or listened to the podcast, Connor and I were in agreement. They've blown these 2 games. They could have the series over with if Michael Porter Jr. could hit one clutch 3, right? Or
Aaron Gordon could make a free throw and Jokic could make a free throw.
if Russell Westbrook doesn't decide to just throw the ball and just basically hand it to their team a couple times a game. So,
but that's a big if.
yeah, well, for sure.
That's like it's like saying, well, if he would have made a half court, like, no, that's
Yeah.
too big of an if.
From what I've seen from Denver, I think they win game 6 here in Denver. Shout out Colorado. And in game 7, man, from what I've seen, like anything can happen. And at the end of the day, you do have the best player. We've been saying that this whole series, but I would like Jokic over SGA in that position, in that game, in the biggest moment. And I don't know if I. This is such a good series. It's like neck and neck, dude. I love it. Because I genuinely think this is going 7. I mean, I think Denver wins tomorrow night, and then game 7, man. I'd bet Jokic before anyone else.
So Denver making this series more competitive than you thought it would be before this. Does that kind of change your perspective this season?
That's a really good question. It honestly does. Because after you watch game 2 especially, right, and you start to be like, okay, this is who OKC is. They have this in them, and we're gonna see it a lot more often. And then you just didn't, and you're kind of thinking to yourself, wait a second, like what happened to that team that was just going out on fast breaks, playing absolutely lockdown defense, and getting to whatever spot they wanted? And hitting shots like they weren't even, dude, like game 2, dude, they weren't even hitting tough shots. They just got the most wide open shots, anything that they wanted all night long. But then seeing Denver, who again is still the worst defense in these playoffs, and just stick around with guys like Michael Porter Jr. still not even play. Julian Strawther like played legit minutes last night, and still the Nuggets should have won that game. Has me really concerned about OKC. But at the same time, look who OKC is going to have in front of them. They're going to play Minnesota, and then whoever comes out of the East, they don't have to go against the juggernaut Celtics healthy, or even like the Cavs healthy. Like they get to play, a 4 seed here or a 5 or 6 seed, whatever it's going to be in the finals. And so I still would pick them to win it, but Denver's changed my mind a lot. And obviously, like Jokic has been awesome. But you know who hasn't been? Pretty much the rest of the Nuggets. Murray's had a couple really good games. Obviously, Gordon hitting some very, very clutch shots. Other than that, dude, like I don't even know how Denver's in this series, but they are.
I don't know. I have no idea. It's not even because you can't really say Jokic because he's had a couple stinkers in there for Jokic's standards,
Yeah.
but he's had a couple stinkers in there. Jamal Murray's been a little bit inconsistent and whatnot, but look, I'm still gonna hold my position on Nuggets in 7, and I honestly hope it happens because I'd be fascinated to see Nuggets T-Wolves, and I also feel like if the Thunder get out of this series, like last season when the Celtics got the monkey off their back against the Heat early on, and they go, look, we're done, we're past the voodoo Heat, we don't have to deal with them anymore. If we can do that, we can do anything in these playoffs, and so. I almost feel like that's how it'd be with the Thunder a little bit, where it's like if we got past Jokic and that team, we can win this finals at that point. You're facing the T-Wolves, and then you're facing likely either the Knicks or the Pacers in the finals. I mean, the Thunder, they're already, they're minus 120 right now to win the title at this point. I would never take that, though.
No, I mean, the odds are, there's
I think
no
it's
value
crazy.
in that at all.
Anthony Edwards in the chat.
Oh,
he says,
Anthony. Shout out.
Who's the
What's up?
Randy Orton of the NBA? I think I'd pick Anthony Edwards.
I mean, just from like style of play, you got to go with Draymond Green, right? I mean, did you see him like choke DiVincenzo the other night?
Yeah, but like
literally body
Anthony Edwards is sitting there dancing in guys like LeBron and Curry's faces, and just, I mean, he's the only player I feel like that can get away with being this cocky, and everyone's like, yeah. But like, imagine if Tatum tried to do some of that stuff.
Yeah, that's a very good point, honestly. What's funny is like you're so right because Anthony Edwards like loves to get in dudes' faces, but I think they all love and like respect him. Dude,
It's so genuine.
Tyrese Halliburton, dude, does something similar, and dude, these cats hate Tyrese Halliburton. Like they can't stand. He was voted by his peers the most overrated player in the NBA. It's funny the dichotomy that you bring that up because Ant get away with it, dude. Tyrese Halliburton, dude. People can't stand that cat and his dad.
Yeah, my pick would be Anthony Edwards as the Randy Orton of the NBA.
I think that's the perfect pick. I don't know.
Keep sending these types of chats in. This is way more fun than having to break down these games that we have no idea what the outcomes are going to be.
Has this been the most unpredictable like playoffs in recent memory? I'm like, obviously you have all these upsets happening in this second round here, but I was legit just like I don't even know who to bet for these next games because it's just I'm like anything can happen at this point.
Yeah, I feel like it's the most unpredictable since probably the 21, that weirdish COVID-ish playoffs where like fans are finally allowed back in, and I think it was Hawks Bucks. That was the Hawks Bucks Eastern Conference Finals. The Hawks upset the Sixers and everything like that. KD, if his foot's just an inch behind the line, all of a sudden we're talking about Kevin Durant and the Brooklyn Nets lifting a title probably that season. And then the Phoenix Suns obviously go on their run that year. But, yeah, I think since 21, this has been easily the most unpredictable playoffs. And I don't know what Andrew just typed in the chat, but he just raised his hand, so I don't know.
And is that the symbol for male? Is that what that is?
I have no idea. But anyhow,
Andrew, what the nuts?
We'll get back to we'll get back to business as usual. But yeah, no, in this series, are you flipping on your position of the Thunder? I mean, it was Thunder in 2, it was Thunder in 3, it was Thunder in 4, it was Thunder in 5. Is it still Thunder in 6?
I think I'd have to go back and watch the tape. I think I originally picked Thunder in 6. Obviously, I said 5 after I saw Game 2. But I got to stick with the Thunder, just being the fact they're up 3-2 and they are still so talented, and I think it regresses back to the mean here over 2 games. So I'll say Thunder, but I think they win in 7. I do think Denver gets the win tomorrow night. But back in OKC's got one of the best crowds in the NBA, dude. Like they all wear the shirts, they're freaking loud as heck, and then you have, of course, Denver's like almost just as good. So I'm gonna go OKC in 7. I was obviously wrong about the whole 5 thing, but man, what a fun series. The matchup's so weird. Like the styles are completely different, and yet here we are. Like every game has been awesome except for game two, obviously.
It's been unbelievable, and like I said, every single game I sit there and go, I just don't know how they're still in this. And uh, yeah, I'm still rocking with Nuggets in 7. I am very worried about it though. But then you just got to remember, oh, Nikola Jokic could come out here with 45, 20, and 20.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's capable of doing that. I think during that time when the Nuggets were up on OKC, they had about like a 10-point lead there in the fourth quarter. I think the Nuggets moved to like plus just like 650 to win the title. Or all of a sudden everyone's like, hold on a sec, they get to play Minnesota, and then they get to play either the Knicks or Pacers in the finals. Like, are the Nuggets going to win a title with this team just a few weeks after firing their head coach? And then obviously OKC comes back and the odds kind of shift back to about what they were. But even I was like, do I go bet the Nuggets to win the title right now? They have the best value and they have the best player in these playoffs. They have the experience. They've done it before. Obviously, you got to get past OKC, but do you see a legit path for Denver to win the finals in maybe the most unexpected finals win we've had in a long, long time?
If they can get out of this series, then they're going to be the favorites.
That's probably true.
I mean, I feel like
Maybe the
everyone's going to be
Knicks?
what, plus 350.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point,
Yeah.
the Nuggets are 28-1 right now. So if you believe that the Nuggets can win this series, now would be the time to go get it. I took the Nuggets to win it before the playoffs at 35-1, 40-1, and I think 42-1 as well. And so I'm personally super biased and rooting for the Nuggets in this series. So, Andre in the chat, he says, do you find it suspicious after the Mavs trade Luka Doncic, all of a sudden they receive the number 1 pick to acquire Cooper Flag? We can get right into this. Yeah, it's extremely suspicious. And we did a whole NBA live reaction show or the lottery reaction. And yeah, I fully believe this is rigged. I 100% believe it. Because, the fact is okay, I can believe a 1% chance happens. But Chase, when these super generational guys come in, you know what teams don't win it at 1% is the Sacramento Kings. Sacramento Kings aren't winning the draft lottery for Cooper Flag last night. It always seems to go in a very, very distinct way. And on top of that, the most damning evidence of all is that Nico didn't shop Luka. That doesn't make any sense in this world. You have a top 3 asset in the league, and you didn't shop him around, and you only got 1 first-round pick and an aging 32-year-old big man that's injury-prone back in return. I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, I've been thinking honestly a lot about it because we obviously love the NBA, and also like this is legitimately insane. First off, I got to say this. I know people love to say like NFL is king, and look, they kill the NBA in ratings. I know they do. Whatever, they took over Christmas like taking candy from a baby. No one will ever beat it. But you know what the NFL will never have is the amount of movement that the NBA does with this type of stuff. They will never have the talking points and the drama and they will never have a captivation like the NBA does with these things. Like no one's talking about when Christian McCaffrey gets traded to the 49ers. Obviously it's a big topic, like ESPN, whatever. But dude, everyone's mom knew that Luka Doncic got traded. Everyone's great grandma knows that Cooper Flag is not going to go to the Mavericks. Like this is what the NBA has that no other sport does, and I love it. It's why it's so great. Obviously,
but does it result in a better product though?
No, it doesn't. And that's what I'm saying. The on the court product, there's still much to be desired. Your best players are hurt every playoffs, and there's a lot of changes that need to be made. But strictly from an off the court, off season player, all this stuff, the NBA is the greatest talking point in all of sports. Like this is why we love it. Did you listen to Zach Lowe, his podcast today?
No, I did not.
You should. It's actually really good. He was in the room. So what they do apparently, I didn't even know this. They pick the balls before the show even starts, and they invite a whole bunch of reporters and representatives from the team to sit in and they watch it live. And so everyone has like these sheets of paper in front of them. They know the combinations and they follow along as they pick the balls. It's like like you watch the lotto on TV, like just a regular, Powerball, whatever. You're reading number by number to see if you won. And so he was there and he tells the story of it, and it's really dang cool. And as I was thinking about it, I was like, how can they rig this? They have all these people watching. They have an independent firm who's organizing this and setting it up. It's not even the NBA doing it internally. Like all these different things against it. But then I think back to what you said. We knew Wemby was a Spur. We knew Cooper Flag was going to a big market team. We knew this. We do this. We do this. There's too many instances. The odds are too stacked against it for this to not be a coincidence.
I did see a clip of Zach Lowe where he said, it's just a ping pong ball with water. It's like with a water jug and air blowing through it. Look, the NBA is a multi-billion-dollar league. I cannot stand hearing the rhetoric of it would be impossible for them to rig the lottery. Oh, a multi-billion-dollar organization couldn't build a rigged ping pong ball machine? What are we talking about here? That would be the easiest thing to do in this league.
They absolutely could rig the lottery. I believe that 100%. Here's what I think. This is strict conspiracy, strict theory. I don't know if they exactly rig it to get the exact. I don't know if it was like he needs to go to the Mavericks. But what I do think
was
it is
either you're going to the Mavs, Sixers, or Spurs.
Yes, I think they're like he's going to one of these teams, and then we'll leave that one up to chance so that no one can tell us we handpicked. Like I think I don't. And I don't you might have seen the Zach Lowe clip, but so it came down to the last ball for number one because they picked number one first. And the Spurs had like 3 numbers left. They have the best chance for number one. And then it ended up being the Mavericks who only had like one possibility. They get the number 7 ball, so they get the pick. But the fact that the Spurs like had the best odds right then it was all I kind of needed to know. That I think you guys fudge the balls to get your best teams, your biggest markets, the best chance in certain drafts. Like last year's draft, I don't think they gave a crap. And they're like, let's let the ping pong machine do its thing. I don't care who gets the first pick. Wizards, go for it. Hawks, whatever. Like, have at it. But when it's someone like Cooper Flag, when you have a prospect like this, the NBA at the end of the day is a business. They're going to do what's best for their business to make money, to make the product the best they can, to put their stars in the best position. I think they absolutely have influence over the lottery, over who gets the number one pick. I think they absolutely exercise that influence during that lottery the other night, and 100% they had something to do with him going to the Mavericks. I fully believe that.
I do too. You don't have to convince a Hornets or a Wizards or a Jazz fan twice. Now, you know what I will say to the Jazz point though? Because the Hornets and Wizards, I don't think outwardly tanked. The Hornets got injured. LaMelo got hurt and couldn't play the rest of the year. Brandon Miller got wrist surgery, couldn't play the rest of the year. They still played their guys. They just didn't have the guys to win games. The Wizards played their guys. They just don't have the talent on that roster. The Utah Jazz blatantly said, F you NBA, we're not playing Lauri Markkanen, who's an all-star. We're not playing John Collins. We're not playing any of these dudes that can put a ball in a basket. That's where I have the problem, and I'm okay with the Jazz getting screwed.
This was I sent out a tweet. A few people didn't like it, but that was the point of the lottery. And I'm stealing everything from the Zach Lowe podcast. But, dude, this is what the owners, the GMs voted for, was for a more flat lottery and for this was anti-taking. This was to keep teams like the Jazz from being rewarded for literally sucking on purpose. It was to make sure that teams just didn't go out and lose as many games as they could, because guess what? You just wasted an entire year for the 5th pick, Utah. And if you're Washington, you wasted the entire year for pick number 6 for Con Knippel. Like, who, I'm not trying to bust Con. I mean, I think he's awesome, but this was the point. So now you've discouraged tanking. You said to teams, look, this actually doesn't work, so maybe you should try another strategy here, because at the end of the day, you're not guaranteed that pick. And so that was the point of this lottery. Is it the right thing to do? Is it the best way to go about it? I don't know, probably not, because I think that the product might be suffering. But I will say this: I know you were a little upset draft night, and I was in the chat, or lottery night, and I was in the chat a little bit. From the casual fan perspective, this is a good thing because you get to see Cooper Flag play on national television on a relevant team with good relevant players. This is what the NBA needed to make more money. And if you're just a casual guy who turns on the NBA on Tuesday nights, you are not going to want to watch the Washington Wizards play basketball. But you know who you kind of want to watch? The Dallas Mavericks with Cooper Flag and Anthony Davis and a couple fun pieces, and especially when Kyrie Irving is back next season, all these things. It's just better overall for the product. I know it sucks for these small market teams who lost out on a generational guy, even though they had the best odds for it. But this is how a business works, and the NBA is not stupid. This was the best outcome.
But then it's WWE.
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah,
I would almost rather have the NFL model.
I mean the NFL scripted too, so. I'm just.
The other thing is people are talking about, okay, like what do those teams do? What Washington, Utah, Charlotte. We'll get into Charlotte in a second, but the Utah point of things, I saw Chris Mannix and Russillo. They're like, Utah has to get into that top 3 somehow. They have to get into the top 3 in some way, somehow. And I don't know if I necessarily agree because let's say Utah does get into the top 3 and they go get Ace Bailey or Dylan Harper or whoever. They're not competing. They're not going to the play-in. I don't understand. You run back the tank, to be honest. I know it's a 14% chance and whatnot, but you re-tank again because, or you just pick the best guy at 5. Hopefully he turns into a guy and build another top 5 guy from next year's draft that is also another loaded class. And I think that's the best way to go about it because the West is a gauntlet. Now, if they were in the East, I would say, okay, everything's on the table, make some kind of move. But there is not one singular move the Jazz can make where they're going to be even remotely competitive.
Yeah, and this is the tough part about rooting for a small market team. I think about Denver, honestly, who is a bigger market than some of these other teams, especially like Utah. But the only reason they have a title, dude, is because they absolutely lucked out by drafting Nikola Jokic during a Taco Bell commercial in the second round. If they do not draft him, they don't have a title. It's as simple as that. So it's either you get really lucky with some guy who you get in the second round or late first, who people just don't see exactly the potential, or you get lucky with the number 1 pick. But guess what? I don't think it's up to luck anymore. I think what we saw this season is that the NBA is going to put their guys in bigger markets. And so if you're someone like Utah, you're never going to sign a huge free agent. It's just not how it works. You're never going to have the pieces to make a trade. No one's ever going to request a trade to Utah. You have to get lucky in draft. That's what they got with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. They drafted them, and it was late first round for both those guys. And so they were able to build something.
Donovan Mitchell was lottery.
Yeah, fringe lottery. But yeah, like it's all about finding these hidden gems, these diamonds in the rough. Oklahoma City, about as small a market as you can get, traded for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who wasn't a huge trade asset. No one batted their eyes really when they got rid of Paul George, and all of a sudden were able to get it. The only reason they were good in the first place, drafted Kevin Durant, drafted Russell Westbrook. Obviously they got lucky with that Durant draft and got a pretty high pick for him. But Russell Westbrook, they were able to just find these guys, and so.
I mean, Russell Westbrook was also a very high pick, and James Harden was also they were all top 5 picks.
Yeah, well, Utah's got top 5. So does Charlotte. But it's about finding the right dudes. And I guess I'm just saying it's hard. And I actually legitimately feel bad for teams that root for them because it's not the model's not made to help you out. It's made to
it's built against
reward
you.
The Lakers. Yeah,
and that's why genuinely it is more fun to be an NFL fan of any single team because you go, you know what? If we do have one bad season, we could all of a sudden be sitting there picking number 1 in the draft, and Andrew Luck is going to be on our team next season. Cam Newton can be on our team next season. Heck, Joe Burrow could be on our team next season. It changes like that, and it's guaranteed. And and also the way the contracts works and everything, guys aren't leaving, guys aren't trying to go out in free agency and whatnot in the NFL like they are in the NBA as well. The other thing is, Andrew put this in the chat as well. This is why NBA expansion feels dumb. I agree. I just feel like we would probably be adding. I feel like there's no basis behind this, but one of the two teams would be good, and then the other one would be a Bobcat Hornet situation. There's no basis behind that, but
no, I know. Probably. So my question to you, Carter, how would you go about the draft order in the NBA? Like, what do you want to see different?
I don't know. There's just no exact method. I don't know if you ever solved the tanking issue. Because I mean, if you don't have a chance at the playoffs, okay, even though the Jazz did, get the fifth pick, they were guaranteed to get the fifth pick because they had the worst odds. So it's like, look, I'd rather get guaranteed the fifth pick than be sitting there at Brooklyn at 8, to be honest, or sitting there at 10 with, I guess technically that was supposed to be what Houston or Atlanta's pick right there at 10. It's like I'd rather be sitting at 5 guaranteed at that point. So there's not a perfect system to it, obviously, but something's got to change. Because it's just impossible for these small market teams to have a chance.
Yeah,
but if you stay with the lottery, I don't know if that necessarily ever changes. Unless it's like 50% chance or, something like that. But in these super generational drafts, it goes that very specific way every single time. People are like, oh, well, Orlando got the first pick a couple years ago. Well, Paolo was supposed to go third in every mock up until the night before. There was no consensus at one there. It was Chet, Paolo, and Jabari Smith all at one. 2020, the Timberwolves won that one. Well, guess what? Anthony Edwards wasn't a lock to go number one for most of that draft process. We had no idea what he was going to be. That was a total guess in the dark.
Yeah, I mean, half the people didn't even know who he was. It was that weird COVID year. Georgia was.
Oh, I remember his Maui performance. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, because you are an absolute sicko. I meant most of the people who are in the NBA world, and
that's when I fell in love with him that night. I remember I remember the exact spot I was sitting on a blue couch in Cottonwood Heights, Utah, watching Anthony Edwards, a late game in the Maui. It was a spiritual experience watching him play. I was sitting there like, is anybody else seeing this right now? I think it was against Chaminade too, which was so funny too.
Oh, that is random.
The last thing I do have on this NBA draft stuff, and we can get out of here soon, is Charlotte at number 4. I texted you about this. Charlotte at number 4. What do? You're a small market franchise like you've talked about where you're strapped. You don't know really what you can do. It's impossible to attract big-time guys to your market. Do you just draft a guy at 4? Or do you say, hey, New Orleans, what would you take for Zion Williamson?
You did text me, and so you know my answer. I would rather have Zion Williamson at this point than number 4 pick.
Including him making $36 million a year, $39 next year?
If I'm the Charlotte Hornets, yes. I think at this point, why not dump some money into the roster? Why not bring some more excitement to the team? And why not compete? Like, Carter, if they made the play-in, would that be a win in your eyes?
No, I wouldn't care.
You wouldn't care at all that they got to play at least a taste of postseason basketball with a chance to go to the playoffs?
They played in back-to-back play-ins 2 years ago. I'm good.
So it's playoffs or bust. It's a 6 seed or bust.
I mean, like I'd obviously say root for them, but the play-in, like a 7-8 play-in's different than a 9-10 play-in.
Okay, so 8 seed you'd be happy? 8 or 7 seed?
Maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, you'd have to be happy at that point because the odds you get in the playoffs.
It just depends what the team is, because if there's no future at 8, if there's no future and you're the 8 seed, there's no fun in that. If you're sitting there, if you're in the position of the Chicago Bulls or the Miami Heat, to be honest, you're not happy.
Yeah, but if you're the Chicago Bulls or Miami Heat, like you're from the top coming down, or if you're the Bulls, you've been in purgatory forever. But
That's
the
what I'm
Hornets, it
saying.
would be a rise. It'd be on the way
But the
up.
Hornets were. That's what I'm saying. The Hornets were there 2 years ago. Like,
Were they the
I,
10 seed though? Like it's not the same.
they were the 9 seed as well. It doesn't matter though. Like that's what I'm saying. That's where the Bulls and Heat are. Like no, it wouldn't really do it for me. But Zion playing in a Hornets jersey would do it for me. Oh, are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. But that's the thing with these small market teams. I think sometimes you just got to take these gambles. And if Zion comes in and he doesn't end up playing, and he's going through the same injury stuff, and he's eating cookout and Bojangles every single night, look, at least you took that risk. Or do you just say, you know what, let's take a swing at a guy in the draft we like? We say we like VJ Edgecombe, let's bring him in. You get him on a cheaper deal, you build a better foundation. I think that question ultimately is just, do you believe in LaMelo Ball?
What's your answer as a Hornets fan?
I think in the right situation, I'm not saying he could be an NBA champion or anything, but in the right situation, I think he could be a part of a semi-competitive playoff team.
I agree. Especially what we've seen this season from.
If you had a starting five, if you had a healthy starting five of LaMelo, Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, Zion Williamson, Mark Williams, the team's playing a competitive first-round series.
I think you're right. Hypothetical, of course, but I think you're right.
And then you look at the East and you go, well, maybe we can have a stab at this thing next year.
Yeah, I mean, you still have to make moves. I don't think you can just sit there with that and be happy with it, right? And
you gotta bolster up the bench, but that starting five could be competitive in a playoff series.
Here's my thing, though, Carter. There's a legit shot in the draft to do something really special. Luka was the 5th pick. You know, like there's been some good guys in that range. You know, so like why not? VJ Edgecombe. He had like a 40-something inch vertical. He measured tall at 6'4" with no shoes on. Like maybe that's just good enough for me. We saw him play live in person. He was hitting some of the biggest shots we've ever seen in that arena. You know, and maybe that's enough. Maybe it's like that's my chance I'm going to take. Maybe this dude could be something special.
And let's be honest, that's the chance they are going to take. They are going to go. Yeah. I think they're going VJ Edgecombe. Unless Philly steps up and says we don't want Ace Bailey, which I get it, but I think they're going to take VJ Edgecombe.
I hope they do for your sake, because I think Ace Bailey is a disaster. And also, I mean, his position's taken on that team. I mean, he looks exactly like Brandon Miller. They might as well be twins. So,
yeah, I could also be very much talked into Trey Johnson. I could also be talked into Conconnable.
Trey Johnson only measured 6'4". Pretty short.
Yeah, have you seen the jumper?
Oh, I've seen the jumper.
Money. I think he's the best. He might be the best bucket getter outside of Cooper Flagg in this draft. Yeah, watch some Trey Johnson film and come back to me. Andrew said the Pistons model.
What's the Pistons model?
Getting the number 1 pick. I saw Rob Perez tweet that out. He's like, oh, well, look what the Pistons have done. Okay, they got the number 1 pick. They got a generational guy at 1.
You know, generational is...
Yeah. Sorry, you got a superstar at 1. Cade is a superstar.
Not right now, but potential, for sure.
Cade is a superstar right now.
No. He's a star right now. He's not a superstar.
I think he took that Pistons team to being relevant.
Would you call Halliburton a superstar right now?
No, because I think the Pacers have a better supporting cast around that. I would much, much, much rather have Pascal Siakam, Miles Turner, I'm trying to think of these other, even Nembhard, to be honest, than Malik Beasley, Tobias Harris, Duren.
I think Cade is on that trajectory. I wouldn't call him a superstar yet. Is he even going to make All NBA? I think is he 3rd team, probably.
If he doesn't make All NBA, that's a joke.
But yeah, the Pistons model. To your point, back to what we're talking about. Yeah, I mean they got the number 1 pick, and then they got a Thompson twin, and then they were able to do something. Andrew says, "LOL, basically the Hornets could make that same jump from last year to this year with that starting five and some free agents. It's true, but the problem is like, what free agents are you getting? You do have your free agents are like a Malik Beasley, and a Tobias Harris, like someone that maybe is someone else's trash. Can you make it your treasure? It takes a special unit to do it, and it takes a guy like Cade to pull it all together.
Yeah, I'm going through here right now. The notable free agents for next season. It's James Harden.
You go ahead and knock off the first 6 guys of that list because they're not going to Charlotte.
Miles Turner.
I mean, where's he on the list?
Josh Giddey. No. I'm going through the top right now. It's James Harden. I mean, LeBron's doesn't count. He's obviously opting in. Julius Randle has a player option. I would assume with them making that cat trade, they knew he was going to opt in. Kyrie Irving's not going anywhere. Miles Turner. Josh Giddey. Van Fleet. Kuminga. Naz Reid. Malik Beasley. Aldama. Cam Thomas. Kelly Oubre. Brooke Lopez. Ty Jerome. Bobby Portis. Nikhil Alexander-Walker. Karis LeVert. John Collins, player option.
This is a brutal list.
Clint Capella. Mo Wagner. Quentin Grimes. Restricted, though. Dorian Finney-Smith. Gary Trent. Al Horford. Chris Middleton.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Tyus Jones. D'Angelo Russell. This is where things get good. Hear me out now. Russell Westbrook.
Oh.
Now, it gets better. Chris Paul. Okay. Okay. We talked about him earlier in the show. Luke Kennard.
Oh, snap. Luke Kennard could be a little bit of a hot commodity. The way his shooting.
Steven Adams. Steven Adams feels like he's going to Golden State, doesn't it?
It would certainly make a whole lot of sense.
It feels like he's going. Sam Merrill, Kevon Looney, Mason Plumlee, free agent. Reunion in the Hornets.
Get him back. Yeah. Get him back.
I don't know what you do with this free agent class. It's a disaster.
Here's what I do, and I know no one asked, but if I ran a team in the position of the Hornets or the Jazz or whatever these teams are.
You give Naz Reid a max deal.
Yeah, you sign the most mid player to the most money you can. No, that's what everyone does though. Like, it's so stupid. All these GMs, they just fight to keep their job, and they could go into the meetings with the owner and be like, look at what I tried to do. It just didn't work out. No, look, dude, I would only draft or sign players that are 27 and younger. I would only invest in dudes who have a potential, who can only get better. I would only get those guys. I would, obviously, it's easier said than done. I would just draft dudes who have the potential that could fit on my team and have superstar potential. I know that's impossible to tell, but you got to swing somewhere. You got to start somewhere and get lucky.
Okay, so is 27 the cutoff? We're not going 28.
I just threw that number out there. But if you want to go ahead and throw out guys who are 28 years old at me, I would love to tell you if I would sign them or not. Sure.
Well, you said guys that are 28 years old with potential. Ben Simmons is a free agent next season.
That is exactly who I would sign.
Oh my gosh. Andrew said his comment was talking about the Hornets with Zion and then piecing together everything around that starting five with the bench and everything. I'm either one of those moves I'm okay with. If they say, hey, we're going Edgecombe, Trey Johnson, Con Knippel, one of those dudes at 4, I'm okay. Honestly, anything outside of that, I'd kind of be pissed off. And then, or if they're like, you know what, we're gonna go for the Zion. We're getting into Zion sweepstakes. But I sneaky think Zion's gonna get a little bit more than what people would realize because his contract's friendly.
How do you feel about Jalen Green?
Awful.
Really?
I need someone who can play off of LaMelo and off of Brandon Miller, and Zion could do that.
It's fair. I think
Jalen Green
maybe on a different team.
Jalen Green feels destined to be a Milwaukee Buck here soon.
Yeah, he does. And I think that actually would make a lot of sense for both teams, both parties right there. But that's the kind of guy I'm talking about. Like someone who, how old is Jalen Green? Like 23? Like someone who it didn't work out the first time, but you saw the flashes, you see the potential, you see it there. Those are the guys you got to invest in. Those are the swings you have to take. It's got to be young, and it's got to have potential. That is it.
But then it's like, do you want to give up that many assets for a Jalen Green?
His trade value is at an all-time low. It depends on what you'd be giving up at that point, obviously, if you feel like you can win that trade or not. But just that caliber of player is what I'm talking about. I mean, we've seen it work at other places. Halliburton used to be a Sacramento King.
Yeah. Like, I mean, that was a straight swap though for Sabonis.
Yeah, and it worked out for the Pacers, man.
Dante Exum, free agent.
They went young. He's still in the league. He played finals minutes last year.
Cam Reddish.
Yeah, no. See, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay,
man.
All right. I got the plan for Charlotte. Taj Gibson, Seth Curry. Oh wait, that was last season. All right, we went long enough here. Make sure to subscribe. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. Make sure to follow at Karterkast on everything. Download SeatGeek. Use code Karterkast. $20 off your first purchase. $50 minimum purchase required. We will be back this weekend once the Eastern and Western Conference Finals are set. We'll be doing a show then, recording everything and getting that out to you. Make sure to hit that subscribe button once more. Keep subscribing. Ton of. I know you guys. I know everybody listening to this right now loves seeing the Hornets reactions and everything. They love seeing me suffer. That's what people tune into this, just to see me suffer. No one's tuning in when Duke wins a game or BYU wins or the Panthers win a game. They're never like, oh, let's go, this is when we want to see it happen. No, they want to see me miserable, and that's why people tune in. But anyhow, if you're going to tune in to see me miserable, hit that subscribe button at Chase_Rogers0, at Karter BA, at Kartercast on everything, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye.